Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
As the General Assembly looks at ways to trim a projected $3.7 billion budget shortfall, the North Carolina Education Cabinet is working to keep cuts to education at a minimum. Shortly before the legislative session began, the Cabinet's Executive Director, Howard Lee, sat down with Kelly McCullen to discuss their efforts.
We're here with Howard Lee, the Executive Director of the North Carolina Education Cabinet. Thanks for being on the show this evening.
It's always a pleasure to join you.
Of all the things you're working on, what's the biggest right now?
Well, we're really concentrating on how we can come up with a comprehensive plan to promote science, education, and technology as high priorities in our school system and tie that together through the community college and the university. And we're also working on a comprehensive education plan, long-range plan for where we'd like to be a few years down the road in education.
Is it that the schools aren't emphasizing science and math, or is it just the students these days don't want to dive into science and math?
Well, we have a number of problems. First of all, we have a real challenge trying to keep high-level qualified science and math teachers in the classroom. And secondly, because our state is so dispersed, it's difficult to get them to go to schools where they're most needed in the rural and poor sections of our state. But at the same time, we are making tremendous progress ensuring that online courses are available to students who are living in these outlying areas. Students just simply certainly find it challenging, but then students through the years, like in my case, have found science and math to be very challenging.
Well, is there a way to make it easier, or do you hire the right people, give them the right tools, and that will work itself out?
Well, we have some experiments that are going on, and I'm a very strong advocate of getting kids to tie into reality. The problem many of our students have when it comes to being motivated to apply themselves to learning science and math is they sometimes can't see the relationship between where they are and where they might be. What we're doing, and some schools have really emphasized that, is have business come in and represent different areas and pair the students up with professionals who are in the field, allow the students to go to the business, see the laboratories, get some hands-on. And what we're finding when teachers have done that, these students have really started to flourish, and they can make the connection between where they are, where they need to go, and understand clearly the courses they have to take in order to be successful.
Why do you think it's taken this long? Of all the ideas that public educators have floated, why are we now just getting around to saying, go work with the professionals, see what they do for a living, and see if you like it, kid?
Well, a couple of things. Education, first of all, is a work in progress. We're always looking for new ways to do things. And if we look back 20 years ago as compared to now, the way we approach and the information we have to impart to kids is so different, and our teachers certainly are not given the kind of professional development that we recognize they need to have to keep them up to date. But the whole idea of business, which is changing and having greater priorities, certainly has pushed us to move more aggressively in that direction. And finally, we've come to recognize that professionals in the field have a great deal to impart to the teachers themselves. And so while we've been a little slow getting to this point, I think we should be very pleased with the progress we're making in joining those entities together.
Let's take 10 students in a science class or a math class, take them out to the factory. How many of them do you want to see what goes on, follow a science and math-based track up through a university degree or community college degree? How many of those 10 would chart a success?
Well, it's very difficult to say, but my guess would probably be it could be 50% of those students could be turned on by that. There's a program in our state that's headed up by Dr. Fran Nolan. Dr. Nolan takes kids to China and to other countries on an annual basis, and he's turned out some top quality students. And these students have gone back into their schools, and believe it or not, students themselves can motivate and influence other students to join in and be a part of what's going on. So I think if we can get 50% success rate out of any group of students exposed to this opportunity, I certainly would be very pleased with that.
When you talk about balancing out how much time you spend on theory in the textbooks, how much time you spend in the field, Just your opinion, do students learn better out of a book, or do they learn better heading out there and checking out the world?
It's a combination. I think you really do have to ingrain students with theory. They need to have understanding of background and history. They need to have some sense of what the whole logical process is. But in the final analysis, there is nothing greater than hands-on learning. Project learning, I think you've probably heard referred to. If students can get their hands on and then we tie things back to that particular project, it is more of a motivator for students to go learn. One example, of course, is NASCAR. NASCAR has what is called the NASCAR University, and working very closely with the school system. And those kids who are turned on by automobiles come to recognize that in order to know the fuel mix, to know the tire pressure, to know all of those scientific pieces that go into successfully running a NASCAR, find that they are performing a whole lot better and they're having a lot more fun, they're much more motivated. So that is just one example of several that are in place in our public school system. And we have a lot of best practices that we can transfer between schools, and we're having success in doing that.
Now, if you're out there in the rural areas, out in the country folks, what's their best chance of success if they want to take science, want to take math, and want to see it in real-world application?
Well, I think the best chance today would be going online and taking online courses, and then having an opportunity to interact with a professor of some sort. I'm one, as a head of the Education Cabinet, it is my commitment, and the governor really is very interested in this, having university professors engage with these kids out in the rural areas, but also having teachers in some of the high-quality schools, i.e. like in Raleigh or Durham, to also be available online to interact with students out in the rural areas. We have the technology and we have the possibilities of taking information and education to students anywhere in this state. We have not maximized that, and hopefully through the Cabinet's effort, working with university, community colleges, and secondary schools, we'll make much more progress in that direction.
Are you getting buy-in from the universities on this? Because there's a reason you become a professor, is to teach on a college campus, not teach high school students.
We are getting buy-in because university professors have come to realize that they need to be a part of raising their seed corn. If we don't improve the quality of students coming out of our secondary schools, they're not going to be very good students at the university level. And the community college, of course, is the priceless gem. It is much more accessible to students. University professors can interact on community college campuses because there is a campus generally near university. And they join together, and we have a number of programs where the community colleges at the local level and the university have formed partnerships and are working to invite these kids in from the local school system. And I think universities realize that unless they're engaged with helping us improve the quality of instruction at the school level, they're going to keep getting not a good quality of student at the highest level.
Do you feel like that way of teaching university down to the rural areas via internet or some other way, is that mature now, or is it something you're still working on? We're still testing it?
It's something that we're still working on, but there are a number of pockets where this has been extremely successful. East Carolina, for example, has a number of programs where they have really been very successful in doing that. We have UNC Chapel Hill has been doing it, and Duke University, our private universities and colleges are very key in this whole process because many of them are able to reach out to students and on a local level and pair with community colleges as well. We've made a lot of progress over the last 5 years, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And it's moving forward, and I'm extremely pleased with the progress we're making in that area.
Well, as you make progress, we'll have you back on North Carolina Now. Appreciate it, sir. Thanks for being on the show tonight.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.